Sir, we can hear you.
Okay, now I'm able to hear you. That's fine. That's good.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'm able to hear you. That's fine. That's good. Good. So, other day we have left that on 3 days back. I think we have met each other. We had covered about 4 or 5 topics. So maybe we'll try and cover the balance one. Now, is it right that I understand you are all at the college now? Campus is open now?
No, sir, we are at home.
Okay, you are at home only. Okay, fine. Well, I was told that the college campus is open now and then students are coming to the college. So I was wondering whether it's still in future or already started. Okay, fine then it's fine. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen again like other day and then we'll quickly run through the balance 5 chapters uh, and then let's see how we move forward. Really. Okay. So you're able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are on the module 2 today, 19 November. So let's move forward, probably. I think last 16, 3 days back, we have covered first 5 topics. And today we'll be starting from budgeting, scheduling, resource allocation, project control, project auditing, and termination. These are the 5 topics we will quickly cover through today. Okay. So what do you understand by budget? So anybody can give a quick definition of budget?
Ability to spend money depending on our resources.
Sorry, but can you repeat it again?
Ability to spend money depending on our resources.
Yeah, that's partly right. That's good. That's right. So we say budget is nothing but a expression of plan for a defined period of time. So we have normally our union budget, central government budget. So every March it comes out for the next 1 year. So that is the funds allocated for various activities the next 1 year. Where it should be a project budget or an operation budget, or that's a different issue. But basically, a budget is something a quantitative expression of a plan for a defined period of time. So or defined goal basically. So that's how it is. So the once the budget is approved, that's what happens in the union government. It drives the project funding, and that becomes the starting point for the project control. So a budget could be the time limits, it could be cost, it could be anything else. But let's focus on the cost portion of it. So when we say project cost control, we have to do measuring the actual cost against the approved budget. So that's the function of the budget. That's a basic requirement of the budget, basically. Uh, it's an estimate. An estimate. Last word sentence you can see is an approximation of what our project will cost when we are talking about a project cost or a project budget. Uh, it's a range. Estimation is generally a range. It's a cost or time. We'll say, okay, this will cost me approximately 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, or 1 crore, whatever it is. Plus minus something could be there. I may take project of 24 months or 25 months or 22 months, maybe approximately 2 years time. That's an estimation. When you freeze it and you say that's the budget, then budget has the limitations. So we put those limitations on the estimation and call that as a budget. Okay, that's how we move forward. So budget, when we do it, so initially we estimate the cost of the project, and when we talk about the cost, there are different types of costs. If I'm the project manager and I'm supposed to control the project cost, so I need to know what are the costs associated with that. Some are the direct costs, which are easily attributed to the project, like labor, raw materials, equipment, fees, and things like that. There are many something which are indirect costs. I'm sure you all know it now by now. So it's all overheads, like telephone charges, administration charges, office rent, everything else. They're apportioned to the project cost. So it's an overhead, an indirect cost. And normally, if you are the project manager, you are expected to control the direct cost, where indirect costs most of the times are not under your control. So direct costs are which is under your control. So that's how we do it probably. So development of budget, there are two main approaches. So one is we do a top-down approach, deciding how much the project will cost and dividing the amount between the work packages. So if I'm doing constructing a house, I say other day we were discussing a flat in Mumbai costs say 8,500 rupees per square foot or something, and our 1,000 rupees, 1,000 square feet apartment, so it costs 85 lakhs or something. So it's a top-down approach, just quickly come down, and then we further divide into what is the cost of foundation or the building or the painting or infra wooden structures or all the various items. We can break it further into that, or electrical costs and plumbing and other things. So bottom up approach is the cost of the project by costing the lowest level of work. So we start working out separately each cost, like how much is the cost of foundation, how much is the cost of brickwork, electrical, how many switch points I want per switch point, per point I would like to spend so much. I mean, these are kind of a cost which is required, and then you work from bottom to up. So I got 20 switches or 25 switches in my office, in my apartment, depending on the cost will change, and then I go from bottom to top. So that's the two ways of how we do the budget, right? So how do you develop the whole budget developing? So like we said just now, top-down approach. But the disadvantage of top-down approach is the person who is working on the budget, we assume he knows everything. So when I say that I can say the apartment in the Mumbai city costs 85 lakhs, I assume that people, everybody assume that I know, okay, this is the cost in prevailing cost in this area, and I'm thoroughly aware of all those things. Then it becomes easy, but there could be a lot of variations, could be a lot of changes. So that's one small handicap in this top-down approach. In the bottom-up approach, advantage is the lowest level work package is rolled up to the total project cost. So higher accuracy probably, assuming that we know exactly the breakdown and we know exactly the cost for each breakdown. So if I know each switch cost me 25 rupees, and then there are so many switches, and then I need 100 meters of cable, and I know what is the cost per cable, and then say this is how it worked out. But disadvantage is if I miss out something, full list of tasks and activities, the budget is incomplete. Yeah, suddenly I say, okay, I forgot the false ceiling in my house, so that costs something separate, which I thought I needed probably, or I forgot to have a wash basin, so I forgot the cost of the wash basin probably. So in a bottom-up approach, we should be clear. You need to be able to define your requirements very accurately. Like most of the apartments when we purchased, I'm here for the last so many years. So initially we never thought of asking our societies to give us a car parking space. But now everybody has got cars, automobiles. So that the moment you ask, the cost goes up now. So in the modern societies, people definitely ask for that. I'm sure in the next generation electric cars will come, and then if you don't have a charging point, then yeah, it will be different. So you need to look at those additional requirements and then start building up your budgets and other things. So if you are a project manager, okay, depending on the information available, how you need to work out. Okay, you can work out a top down or a bottom up, depending on how much definition of the project is there, or a combination of both. So it's a combination of both. You can do it. So whereas various techniques of estimating the cost, I'm sure you all know it. Is analogous estimating, the use history for similar projects, or parametric estimating. This is what we just now discussed. Cost per square foot, built up area, or carpet area, and then you start estimating. Okay, if it is 500 square feet, this is the cost. If it's 1,000 square feet, something else will be the cost and other things. So sometimes some special requirements, then we need an expert judgment. So that's what we use it. The last one, most important thing, is the supplier bid analysis. So we literally ask for quotations, get those things, compare, and see how the market trend nowadays. If I want to buy anything, if I want to buy in Amazon or Zio or anything online, I see all the three prices and I can see who is supplying what and how much it is, how it is. So I do a supplier bid analysis. So for anything in a project also, for every item, you can do a supplier bid analysis. But it's a prolonged exercise. You need to have resources, time, knowledge, and do all those things. But that gives you an accurate estimate. Because the reason why I'm stressing so much on the budget is generally all the people, they understand the language of money or language of finance. When I go back to my senior management and tell him that yeah, my project is overrunning, immediately red flags come up quickly. By how much, how, why did you not control it? You should have asked, taken my permission. No, a lot of things do happen. So if you are working as a project manager, the finance language becomes very important. So the moment the trend shows that yeah, you're crossing your budgets, the red flags come up quickly. It's true with everybody. So I was just talking to somebody else today. Somebody their salary, in salary they got 999. There was a small error by the cashier. Immediately fought with the management. He said, "How can you have do that one?" So a 0.01% error also, people become sensitive when it comes to finance. If that is same thing, if they are supposed to pay you salary today evening and next day morning they pay, yeah, 12 hours late, fine, it's okay, that's not a problem. So it all depends on your urgency, your requirement. But finance language is a key language, the key thing for everybody. So when you are a project manager, when you work on a project, the costing is something, and estimating, budgeting, everything becomes very important for you. You need to keep always a contingency because we are not God. We can't estimate everything accurately. We can't predict everything accurately. So there are always some contingency amount allocated in the budget. So just look for that one, and depending on the type of project and other things, how much contingency you keep it, what is your previous experience, and how much contingency is that? Is it are you comfortable or not comfortable? You need to have a look at those things. So if it is a routine project you are doing day in and out, something similar projects, yeah, the contingency could be less. If it is something special, something different projects, yeah, you are chances of missing out something could be high. So your contingency fund also could be higher. So in a cost estimate, I'm sure this is one of the key requirements. You have different levels of cost estimate, level 1 to level 5, class 1 to class 5. So depending on the definition of the project, the accuracy level of the costing also will change. Like what we discussed just now, your class 5, your definition is 0 to 2%. Yeah, I know it's a 1,000 square feet flat, but beyond that, I don't know anything else. So your variation in expected accuracy, the last column you are showing, it could be as high as 100% variation. So because my definition is very nominal kind of thing. But as I keep doing it, preliminary budgeting and finally a definitive construction. So I say exactly my built up area is so much, my carpet area is so much. I have 6 windows in my thing, 3 balconies. All I've got a marble flooring. I've got 2 wash basins. I've got 10 tube lights. So you define more, the accuracy level can be more. So when you are definitive construction definition, that is, you almost define anywhere above 60% to 60 to 100% definition, your expected accuracy will also be very high. So it's plus minus 3% or 5%, maybe within that range. So when you are doing a project, if you are the project manager, you need to understand what is the definition of your project. Is it clearly defined to the last element? Yeah, then the confidence level with which you can say that, yeah, I can meet the cost, project cost within that range is reasonably high. And then onus is on you to do it. Otherwise, it can vary. So these levels of cost estimate, if you understand and the definitions of the project, you can focus on that. That would be a great help. Any questions? Anything else? Anybody got any query on this one? Again, I'm not able to hear you. Anybody?
No, sir, nothing.
Nothing. Okay, fine. Then it's good. So basically, a lot of people get confused between accounting and budgeting. So budgeting is, I'm sure, it's very common sense. We all know it. You by now you must be heard 100 times this one. Looks forward in time. Accounting is look backwards in time. So I thought I'll just highlight it so that there's no confusion. When you are making an estimate, you need a cost engineer or a cost person who can look at the budget, look at forecast, look at forward kind of a thing. Because in forward, there are a lot of variables, especially, I mean, we move forward, we'll look into it more details. But if you are imported items, yeah, there's a fluctuation, the foreign exchange, what happens to your budgets? There's variables, a lot of variables, and how do you account for those uncertainties? All these things do come up in budgeting. So when you do a cost control, you're the project manager. I'm just putting a simple format. How does a cost person control the project, and how does the project manager get the feedback? So you've got in the project a lot of elements. Like here I've listed down so many elements, so many items. For each of these items, you've got a control budget. You've got an approved budget for those items. And if there's a change, normally in all projects, we have a change management system. If for some reason you need to change something, you need to get a change approved and make a revised estimate. It could be up or down, it could be either way. So normally you make a revised estimate and say, this becomes an approved budget because of a change from the baseline. Then you place an order for that, or you execute that item or something else, and what is the commitment to date? How much you have committed that? I'm buying a car, or I'm buying a fridge or a computer. I said I pay advance 10%. When that time is delivered, I'll pay the balance 90% or something. So I made a commitment by placing an order that, yeah, this is what I'm going to pay you. But actual cash flow could be different, but commitment is there based on the order placed and said, this is how I'm going to do it. So what is the estimate of cost at completion? Will there be any further changes, or it will be the same one? So it remains same. That's fine. There's a commitment. If there's a variation, you highlight the variation. Our budget was 15 here. Our commitment first item is 18.83. So I'm overrunning by 3.83. So variance is 3.83 there. So you club all the items together. At the bottom line, if you see, our budget is 323. My estimated cost at completion is 258. So I'm saving 64.75 rupees. So that's the variation. So the project manager, many times, if at all there's a variation, sometimes overrunning, sometimes underrunning. If it is underrunning, I've got a cushion add to the contingency and keep in the contingency fund. So if somewhere else I'm overrunning, I can adjust these savings against that overrun problem. So this is how we try to manage the entire cost control activity basically. Hope I'm sure you all are clear about this. It's a very straightforward one. This is typically what every project manager does, and each project is subdivided into, depending on the size of the project, of course, into small projects, and each project we monitor this and see, which one is we are overrunning, where we are underrunning, and how do we adjust this price. So that's one of the methods of cost control and cost monitoring and other things. As we place order, we make a trend analysis also to keep marking the trend and say, okay, what is the trend? Everywhere I'm overrunning, or generally I'm able to balance it out. The graph is what we draw it and we always look at it. So let's come down to scheduling. Now cost we have done, how we build a budget, how we monitor it and other things. Now we come to the scheduling. This is basically time management kind of a thing. That's the key thing here. So we need to know what we need to do it, when it will be done, and who does it. So what are the resources required, and how will it be done? Quality, risk, and communication, all those things. So you make a schedule. It's basically a conversion of a project action plan. There's an action plan because I have to do 10 activities, and all these 10 activities I'm putting into an operating timetable. Yeah, we are coming to the college. We said we have a timetable. First class is so and so, second is some other subject, third is some other subject. So a timetable. Similarly, in the project schedule, we have an action plan and we have an operating timetable, and that serves as the basis for monitoring and controlling the project activities. So we together plan the schedule and the budget, and then these two things become the major tools for the management of projects. So I'm sure you must have heard about these things. Methodology of making a schedule, a PERT chart and a CPM, critical path method, and a program evaluation and review technique.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you're familiar with this terminology. So normally most of the time we use for simple projects a CPM, critical path method, whereas a PERT chart is where you got a three levels of estimation: optimistic, pessimistic, and probable, and then you take out the duration of the activities and other things. Normally most of the standard projects we use a critical path method, and activities can be easily identified, demarked, and you can plan the whole thing basically. So let's go to the activity schedule. So normally if you are a project manager, again, you've got somebody who can plan for you, prepare a critical path method or something else, and then issue a schedule of activities, activity schedule, what we call it. It says which activity to be done, who is responsible for that, when it is to be done. So normally for big projects, depending on the size of the project, it may vary. For big projects, we used to publish it every week. Like I told you, in one of our projects, we had 500 people working. Each one had a activity schedule. And say this person, civil engineer, is supposed to do some activity this week. So what are his starting point, ending point, when he's supposed to do it? And that for everybody, we had a activity schedule. Every week we used to issue it, and they used to report back whether they've completed, yes or no, or is there any problem in that. So that's a part of normal activity. But critical path, I'm sure you all understand the sequence of activities which govern the duration of the project. The project takes 2 years or 1 year, whatever it is. Why does it take 2 years? So what is that activity which are governing the project? So that's the one which have no slack in that one. It's all back to back, and that's the sequence of activity that is called the critical path. And normally, as a project manager, you need to be focusing on the critical path. Make sure that there's no slippage in those activities. But if the activity slips there, either the project schedule gets extended, or probably to crash the activity or to bring it back, you have to spend something more. You have to incur more cost. Like if I were to go from here, my house to or my college to the VT station in Mumbai city, I take a train and go there. But if I miss the train and I have to be there at a so and so time, I take a taxi and I go there. So train cost me say 25 rupees. Taxi cost me 200 rupees probably or 500 rupees. Even if I take a share taxi, it's a 200 rupees. So I'm trying to recover my lost one, but I incur more cost probably. So activity schedule is something which is important, which is on which critical path is the most important thing for the project manager. So our focus will be on that basically. So I'm sure you know the softwares. There's a Primavera software which is Oracle based, which is even MS Projects is Microsoft is there. These systems are used, computerized project management systems or planning systems are used to develop the project plan.
Sir,
Yeah.
which one is better, Primavera or MS Project?
Sorry, can you talk a bit loud? I'm not able to hear you.
So which one is mostly company used?
Most of the companies use, like I said, I am a project management company. We were using Primavera, and most of the companies use Primavera bigger for bigger projects. If the project is a smaller one, yeah, probably MS Projects was okay. But like I said, we were doing a large size projects, and Primavera was more suitable for those things.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. I'm sure you all know the relationships. All typically, two activities we take: start to start, or finish to start, or finish to finish, and start to finish. I'm sure you know it. We don't have to spend much time. I'm just demonstrating how it looks like activity relationship between two activities. And even then, the lag between activities, something activity can start after 5 days lag from this other activity. These are all normal terminology. I'm sure once you are into the planning activities, you know it. As a project manager, you have a general idea that these kind of activities are available. But if you are a planning person, if you are into the planning, yeah, then you need to go into more details. But otherwise, generally, you know, okay, these kind of activities do occur, and then that's good enough for us. Other one is a Gantt charts for a small project, not a big one, small projects. You can provide a graphical illustration. A network like Primavera output is a big printout, or if you see on your screen, it's a big one. But a small projects where you want to see a more visual impact kind of a thing, Gantt charts can be used. These are extremely visual kind of a thing. And you have one side a list of tasks and a bar kind of a thing, the other side time scale, and you show the activity length, everything else. For small projects, for small sub projects, small activities, it's easy for us to understand for people. We use these kind of things. So, but for large projects, yeah, we go for a network kind of thing. So, this is something typically a NAT chart, how it looks like. Typically, like a baseline, the high level schedule is what we try to show in this one. For detailed activity, day-to-day activities, we go into a pod chart kind of a thing, or a secret, a Primavera schedule kind of a thing. That's what we do it. And finally, at the end of the day, you need to issue as a project manager, you are supposed to monitor the project, issue the progress reports, and typically you need to look at what is planned for this month and next month. Where do you stand with against that? What's the financial progress or major milestones or detailed planning? Either way, which of these things you do a lag analysis. Yeah, the non-critical activities are lagging. It's fine. Probably we can recover it later on. But if critical path is lagging, yeah, then you need to look up something else. Catch-up plan is required. How do you catch it up? What kind of which activities I can crash probably? So I need to look at those things. So when I make a report to the senior management, I tell them a gist of this one. I make a dashboard and say, yeah, progress expected is 10%. I'm today at 12% ahead of the requirement. Not a problem. Financial progress, yeah, I'm supposed to spend 10% of budget so far. I've done 8% of budget only, but I'm physical progress wise, it's more. It's fine. So, so you give these things, and if there's a problem, you give a lag analysis. And also you tell us if you want to draw the attention of your senior management, yeah, so potentially there's likely to be a problem in certain area, then I would like to highlight that and draw the attention of senior management and say, yeah, this is where I need support from senior management. Similarly, if there are any problems, hold up, something else is there, you have to look at those, highlight those, including any changes. Like for example, from Delhi to Mumbai, they want to do a high-speed rail. Acquisition of land is a problem in certain areas. Yeah, if I'm the project manager, I would like to highlight to the railway ministry, yeah, this is the problem area. I want your help in acquiring, otherwise the project can get delayed, kind of a thing. How to reroute or deroute the whole thing. 10 more kilometers or 20 more kilometers can increase the length, and then hence the cost, so many problems could be there. So we highlight those areas of attention to the senior most team members, I mean senior management, and do it. So progress report is one of the tools which you use it to draw the attention of your senior management. Right? Okay. So any questions, any problems, anything else you want, anybody wants to know? Okay. Let's move forward. The third item to do it, we need some resource. Either labor, raw materials, machinery, something. And if the resource is scarce, there could be a problem. So you need to allocate the resource and say, this is how I'm going to allocate the resource and this is how I'm going to complete the project. A simple activity like painting the house. I need a painter. I need the Asian paints colored so and so color paint material. In the market, if the material is not available and hence I'm not able to do it, so resource problem is there. Or the labor is not available because of Corona. The whole labor have migrated and have gone back from Mumbai city. Hence, there's no labor, so I can't paint my house. That if that is a project, yeah, there's a problem. So, for scheduling, if I said my painting this house will take 15 days, but if the labor is not available, it can take more time. Or if there's a Diwali vacation, because of that labor is not turning up, then there's a problem. So you need to schedule it depending on the availability of labor or material and understand how you are going to manage the whole thing, whether time or resource. So if you look at the next slide, the extreme point of the relationship for an activity is time and the resource. Both are equally required. So time is when the project must be finished by a certain time using as few resources as possible. It's a time which is governing, not resource usage, and that is critical. So I can try and give overtime. I can get more people, maybe some other labor and do something else. But time becomes important because there's a function in my house, and say assume there's a marriage function in my house, and I have to paint it. The marriage is on so and so date. Before that, I need to finish it because a lot of guests are coming in. So then time becomes very important. Yeah, I need to get more resource, complete the project, and finish it off. The other side is resource. The project must be finished as soon as possible, but without exceeding some specific level of resource usage or some general resource constraint. That could be other issue. There is a specialist painter is required. So I want to do some art painting on my wall in the drawing room. And that kind of painter, only one person is available and is busy normally. So if I have to get the resource, if he's not available, the whole thing comes down. So I have to find out how he is available and how I can manage my this thing so that I can use that resource in a most efficient manner. So these are the two limitations what we have. So it leads to what we call resource leveling. So many times we shift the task within the slack allowance. So all the tasks may not be in the critical path. So you adjust a little bit here and there. So for smoother distribution of resource. So resource leveling becomes one of the key factors for the project manager. You're doing a project and you have a team with you, and then somebody has got a limitation there. You have to optimize his resource availability. He's a key person. So you have to manage all other activities such a way that he gets a priority and resource adjustment has to be done. So that's where the project manager skill comes into picture. He knows his team. He knows what are the resource limitations, what are the important of the time or schedule or quality, and then he manages these resource leveling things in a appropriate manner. So that's on the resource. So once you have the budget, approved budget, you got a plan, you made a PERT chart or a CPM chart or something else, you're monitoring it and you're controlling the resources and other things. What is the project control function? So you look at the cost, scope, time, and say you monitor it, reduce the difference between plan and actual performance. You have planned something and you have achieved something. What is the difference? If it is on the negative side, how do you manage that one? So that's important. So big organizations have a project management office, PMO, that's what it's called. Normally for small things, the project manager himself has been given the authority to take decisions, or he can talk to the senior management and take decisions. But for large projects and once we have a project management office, that concept is there most of the times. And then they look at that, review it, and make sure that help in exercising proper control. So that's something which you should be aware of it in any organization. If you are the project manager and it's a small firm, yeah, you might be given the authority to do it. So what is the control process? So at what point the project will be control will be exerted? What is to be controlled? First, you need to measure it to control it. And if there is a deviation, can it be tolerated or no? That you need to understand. And spot and correct the potential deviations before they occur. I think in the last class we discussed this issue. Project management is not a post-mortem activity. We have slipped on the project and then you realize that yeah, we slipped and that's what he's telling, then he's not a good project manager. You should be able to predict in advance, yeah, what's likely to go wrong? How do I bring it back into the normal requirements? If you can predict and take a corrective action in advance to avoid slippage or to avoid something going wrong, that's where your effectiveness as a project manager comes into picture. So you should be thinking ahead always. So normally we say a project manager is something in a jungle. If you're traveling, you go up the tree and look ahead and say which direction you need to go to in the right way. Because if you're walking you're not able to look for the next 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers ahead, or next 1 day or 2 days in advance, you will not be able to achieve that one. So that's the kind of a potential looking forward is what is required from the project manager. And then if I'm deviating, yeah, I have to control it and say, yeah, bring it back to the normal right course. So we have many controls. The most popular is go no go controls. So this is a most commonly used kind of a thing. You exercise judgment in the use of go no go controls. Like if you look at it, our own current COVID protocols, yeah, Mr. Modi got a feel and say, we don't want to slip it, so we will have to put a lockdown and say that's more important than doing any other things. So he took a control. He said, yeah, he used his judgment and said, yeah, there's a lockdown from last March 30th onwards. Nobody should move out anywhere. Everything is blocked. So you just imagine the entire economy, we felt it came to a standstill. But yeah, you need to work out the alternatives and see how you can still move forward, kind of a thing in the way required. But as far as COVID is concerned, he said, yeah, unless you take that action, you can't control this one. So he had no other choice but to take the decision. So many times these things do happen. and you use this kind of a controls kind of a thing. So in a go no go control, say for example, time you said if there's a heavy penalty clause for a delay in schedule, what is to be done? Yeah, then the money becomes secondary. You need to go forward and do it. Just to give you an example, we were doing a project. We wanted one of the raw materials which we need to buy from somebody else. I can't set up a plant to generate that raw materials. My adjacent plant in the industrial area was able to generate that one. But when I went and inquired and we discussed with him, he said, "Yeah, but I'm busy. My capacity is full. I'm supplying to all other people. But if you want the same raw material, I can generate something more, produce something more, and give it to you. But then I have to set up the plant exclusively for you." I said, "Okay, that's fine. Because the plant which we consume daily, these are our estimate. This is how we do it." So we signed an agreement with that person, and we said that our plant will be ready and we start consuming the raw material after 6 months. So you need to plan your additional capacity. So that from 6 months from now, you should be able to give us the raw material. If they said, "Fine, that's okay." So we said, we are on the basis of your commitment. I'm committing to my other customers that I'm going to give the product after 6 months, because once I get your raw material, I can process it and I'll give something else to the rest of the people. And I'm signing my agreements with them. So if you fail to give me in the next 6 months, then I will impose a lot of penalty on you. So that's agreed. But then immediately he said, "Yeah, okay, that's fine. But if I generate and if you don't consume it in the next 6 months, then I will impose penalty because I'm setting up this plant for you." So we both have agreed with the heavy penalty clauses. So both were monitoring each other's progress also, and made sure that yeah, we could come to the point where within plus minus 3 days we were able to get the raw materials and others. But that was a unique agreement where there was a heavy penalty for not giving something. So rest of the cost, everything else has gone aside. Everybody was focusing on completing the project on time because of heavy penalties. These things do happen many times in the contracts, in the projects, while executing projects. Just for an example, just I thought I'll share it with you. This is what actually really happened in one of our projects. So let's go to the audits also. That's the other one which a project manager depends on that. Audit is nothing but a detailed examination against a set of standards. Here, anybody who's with a background of audit, financial
No,
audit
sir.
or project audit or
No, sir. No,
anything
sir.
else? No? Because we are all familiar with financial audits normally. So that's a standard thing which we do it. But here in the projects, we also do a lot of audits. So normally, if I'm the senior management and I'm asking my project manager to do a execute a project, I put an independent person as an auditor, ask him to see and evaluate and let me know what's happening around. Is it progressing the way we plan to do it or not? So project audit is evaluation, appraising the progress and performance of a project against plan, whether it's a time or cost or a performance, either of these things. It can be all three. So an independent person who is not related to the project comes and audits the project team and then apprise the management. Yeah, this is what is actually happening now. So the audit should have a credibility in the eyes of the management. Yeah, management should feel an auditor is telling me the right things. And also the project team also should feel confident that the auditor is really looking at the things in the right perspective. He's not biased or he's not finding fault. It's not a fault finding exercise. It's just to apprise the management about the status of the project, basically. Because projects are managed by a number of people, and there could be a possibility that somebody is perfect and somebody may not be so perfect. It can happen always. So conflicting pressures can be there on project managers. No, in the project there's a big team, and this team, part of the team may be complaining in another, the next balance team. No, it can happen. All these conflicts can happen. That's what we discussed in the conflict management. But that can lead in a different direction. But the auditors can come and look at it and clarify all those things, and can help the project manager to appraise the project in the right perspective. So that helps a lot. I was a project auditor for a number of projects. I myself was doing audit. So unbiased audit, that's what is really required basically. So 3 distinct levels of audits. A very general audit. Sometimes I do a detailed audit. Sometimes I do a specific audit based on the request from somebody from the senior management. Or sometimes we do a technical audit. All these 3 things can happen on a project. Because our projects were construction projects, and we were doing that work at construction sites, engineering in the head office, a lot of other things were happening. We were buying a lot of equipment from various vendors. So anything can go wrong anywhere. So we need to look at it really on all the 3 levels and find out that things are moving in the right direction. And there's no miscommunication anywhere. So a general audit is a brief review of the product touching the major concerns. So every project has got objectives. So are we achieving objectives or not? We generally high level, we look at it. Milestones, we look at the milestones and say, okay, this is how it is to be done. So a detailed audit, we can go if there's a problem identified, we go into more in depth and look at those things. Mainly when a general auditor disclose some unacceptable levels of risk, then a detailed audit is conducted. And sometimes we do a technical audit, because technically all auditors may not be technically this thing. So we can hire a technical person to do a technical audit. So these are the 3 levels of audit what we do in project. Also, we do in different phases of the project, like what we discussed, the conceptual phase or the planning phase or the execution phase, the closeout phase. So many things are there. In each phase we do it, timing of the audit. So in the initiation phase, if you do it and everything is fine, the chances of the success of the project is high. So at every level we look at it, we look at the audit and see, yeah, the things are moving in the right direction. The management can get an independent feedback. Yeah, everything is moving in the right direction. As an auditor has to be independent of the project team, so no bias, nothing is required, and he should be a trained person. He can understand the processes. He should be able to conduct the audit in an objective manner, basically. So many times we used to ask project manager in bigger projects, if he wants to ask the audit to be conducted, he can specially request the auditors to come and do an audit. We have a separate auditing department. So we said, yeah, some project manager should send a request. I want this audit to be conducted because some miscommunication or something is a suspicion is there. So we used to do that kind of audits also. So it could be an internal audit or external audit. So internal audit is, we do it, we publish the schedule. There's no surprise to anybody. Whom we are auditing, they are identified. So audit purpose and scope are explained to the auditee. So why we are doing the audit and other things. So there's no surprise anywhere. So auditing is nothing, not a surprise activity, not a surprising activity. It's a routine process. Everything should be done properly. How do you do audit? You interview the auditees, look at the documentation, whatever is relevant documentation, and then you look at the compliance, correctness, requirements, everything else, and finally issue an audit report. You may have some observations, so you record the observations and then issue one. And if you think that some area performance lagging, then you issue a performance improvement notification. Yeah, somewhere is doing it, but there's a scope for improvement. So we said we can definitely improve it here. So we issue a PIN, what we call performance improvement notification. Sometimes these audits can lead to training requirements. Yeah, somebody is working on a project He's not able to perform properly. Yeah, there's a training is required probably for him. So the audit report says to his boss or his management on, yeah, this man needs a training in this area. So audit process can be used constructively, basically what I'm saying. And similarly, we do external audits also. So like we are buying something from suppliers, vendors, and contractors and other things. So we go to their place of work, and then we look at them and talk to them, and we all do the auditing there also. But again, there's no surprise. We tell them in advance that we are going to come and audit you, and which area we are going to audit. That also tell them, and when we are going to audit. So the purpose, scope of audit, everything is clear. Again, there also we want to make sure that the auditees should not have concerns. They should not get worried. Somebody is coming here to find fault with me. No, that's not the issue. So when we issue a report, we write both good and bad about the audit reports. If something is happening really good, we identify that also. And something is not that good or some improvement is required, we identify that also. So finally, we issue an audit reports, which consists of audit date, stage of project, basis of audit, persons audited, what is the evidence we have collected, observation both good and bad, and pin notes. So that is circulated to the management, to the project manager, to the every team, entire body, everybody take their acknowledgement. So they all agree, audit agrees with the audit findings, and they take a time-driven action list is worked out, how they can correct themselves if there is a problem. If there is no problem, it's fine. And there is a follow-up audit again, just to make sure that these activities are completed as required by the procedure systems and other things. In addition to that, so if my organization, I was just telling you that we used to handle at least at any given time 25 to 30 projects of big, small, medium, all the sizes. So all the projects are getting audited. So senior management used to review the entire audit findings of all the projects once in 6 months. It's about the project manager we are talking about. And we say, is there any trend in our audit findings? Yeah, every time a particular department is creating a problem or is lacking in something else, or certain groups have to be trained properly, or new entry people are not getting trained properly, or the procedures are not clear. So it becomes a trend, and improvements what is required are identified as a system totally. And we used to identify what are the training needs for the organization totally. This I'm trying to go beyond the normal project manager requirement. I'm going to the entire system management reviews. This is how we should do it, and that's a normal practice. What everybody does it basically. So audit helps in identifying the bottlenecks or the lacunas or small bits, and then improves the organization to improve themselves. Okay, so ISO 9000, I'm sure most of you have heard of it. So that's a quality system that includes the quality audits, and all these things do come up as a part of that one. I'm sure, hope everybody is clear about ISO 9000 systems and other things.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the last one, we come to the project termination. So we have executed the project, we are auditing the project, we're finding the plus and minus of our side, how to improve ourselves. And if within a project, how to improve ourselves, project manager looks at it, entire organization, somebody senior management looks at it. At the end, the last item is on the project termination. Every project has got a deadline, finished day, where you need to close a project. So the word termination and closing are slightly different. So here I'm putting that one project set to be terminated when the work on the project is ceased or slowed or no progress is possible. Sometimes nothing is feasible, so you just abandon the project, you close the project. And then we officially say that, yeah, this project is closed out, terminated basically. Or when the project is indefinitely delayed, even then we say we terminate the project. We said there's no point in moving ahead with the project. Or if it successfully achieved its goals, yeah, then also we say it's closed, positively closed. So I'm supposed to, in my case, I'm just telling you, I'm supposed to construct a refinery and I've done the refinery, I've completed, handed over the refinery to my client, everything is done, all our payments have received it, it's closed. So we say project is closed now, terminated. So termination could be it's unsuccessful or superseded or successful. Either way, anything can happen. So in all these three different cases, you terminate the whole thing. So our this discussion takes care of all the three events basically. So how do you varieties of termination? How do you do it? So extinct is just stop it, or it can be added to the new part of the parent organization. I'm developing the software in my organization. I come 90% is over. So I said that there's no point in keeping the project team separately. We clubbed it with the parent organization. That's how we close it. We said the project is closed. Now it's a regular operation now. Whatever testing, other things we do it, that's a part of the operation itself. Or you include, you integrate with the parent organization basically. Or there's no budget, so we said we abandon the project now. Starvation. So or sometimes it is suspended. All these things can happen basically. So two things what are more important is whatever you do in terminate the project, we used to make a what we call as a closure report. Okay, so duties during termination, we complete the project, we notify the client if it is successfully completed or so. Acceptance by client. If I have completed it, the client should accept it. So we used to, I'm talking about construction projects or it's a software project also. Performance guarantee test runs or completion certificates as per contract. So I've done the project. I'm supposed to produce, like in a refinery, I'm supposed to get the crude oil, produce petrol or diesel or something else. Unable to do it. I'm supposed to produce 1 million tons per annum. So per day it comes to maybe 3,000 tons or something. So 3,000 tons I'm able to produce it. So my performance guarantee test run says that I can run the refinery for 2 weeks continuously with the production requirements. And if I can do it, I can certify that this project is successfully completed. If there is a problem, then I need to correct it and give it back to him again. So I do a performance guarantee test runs and then close it out. Then I take a certificate from the client. Yeah, it's successfully completed to their satisfaction normally. And then that is a date on which, if you are giving any guarantees, the guarantee period start from there onwards. So I agree that yeah, my guarantee period is for next 6 months or 1 year or 3 months or whatever it is. If within that period the plant gets into any problem, I'll come and attend to it. I'll train if they because the people are not trained or something else happens and there's a problem, and I come and attend to that one. The guarantee period starts from there onwards. And I complete all the documentation. Like normally I give them the operating manuals, maintenance manuals, all these things are required for anything to run. You need to give these documents. Even if you develop a software, you need to tell them what are the instructions, how to follow, what are the standards you need to do it, how to data entry, how you want to make it. There's a documentation, there's the procedures and other things is what to give. That's what is the operating manuals and maintenance manuals and other things. And then at the time of termination, all your invoices, everything are cleared. Settle all claims. There could be claims, counter claims, a lot of things can be there always. in the big projects or small projects, these things do happen. So you settle all those things, you clear the billing. So these are the duties while doing the termination. So if you terminate, you want to make sure all these activities are performed and are properly addressed. Okay. So after the termination, you disband your project team. You make sure that your team goes back to their respective places or go back to next project or whatever it is. And then if we have a separate department for annual maintenance contracts, you hand it over to them all these requirements, storages, archives. I try to do that one. All these things do happen, which are I'm sure everybody understands these things. What is important is you develop a knowledge repository for improvements, conduct lessons learned sessions. At the end of every project, you learn something new, something different, some experience you have gained. You record that and share with your team. All the team members may not be there through and through. It may be useful for other projects. So normally we conduct what we call as a lesson learned session. Yeah, what kind of a clauses we have got, how you operated it, how you have done it, what was good about that, what was bad about that. All these things we would used to record that, take photographs depending on the time of project, attach it. So a knowledge repository is also there for improvement to be carried out in the future projects. So it becomes important for a project manager to prepare this closure report, what we call, covering these aspects of it. We have overrun the cost, yeah, analysis why we overrun, what happened, what led to you to overrun the project. If you overrun on the time or underrun on the time, what helped you to underrun in the time? What made you to overrun in the time? What kind of problems you faced? How did you resolve them? All these things you need to record it. It becomes quite useful for future generations and future teams also. As an organization, we used to do it. So every time a new project manager is being taken up a project, like I'm doing the next refinery, I said, okay, what happened in the previous refinery? Can I take the closure reports of previous refineries and look at it? Or if I'm doing some other project, did we do a similar project in the area? We have done a couple of projects in different parts of India, like Gujarat or Kerala, or West Bengal or UP or something. The way we execute the projects in different cities and different states or different requirements are required. All that is required because sorry, because each one has a unique features. You need to understand those things. So next time when you're doing a project in that area, you should be able to manage the thing. So each area has got a unique geographical features, climatological features, the cultural backgrounds, they're all different. The way you do a project in place A, if you work in a similar fashion in place B, it may not be successful. So you need to understand the local requirements, local specialities. So these prior reports, closure reports help you in doing all those things. So that's why this becomes very important to make a closure report and knowledge repository for improvements. Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you drop your contact details in chat box?
Yeah, no problem. Hello.
Yeah, WhatsApp number and permanent contact number. Sir left. Sushant. Sushant.
हेलो, बोल रहे हैं?
अरे सरांनी मी लेफ्ट सरांनी चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये कॉन्टॅक्ट नंबर दिलता का?
नाही नाही, काय नाही दिलं.